Hi, I'm Skip Nipper. Welcome to Skip's Corner, the podcast where I tell you about not only Nashville's great baseball history and traditions,
shot to right, a one-hop liner,
but certainly about its past. And you will hear a little bit about its present and future, too.
Yes, he can. It makes the waist-high catch.
There are great stories about Tom Wilson Park, Herschel Greer Stadium, Sulphur Dell, and the players, coaches, and fans who love everything about baseball. And every once in a while, you will get to hear from a special guest who will share their fondness and even passion for the great game.
The high fly ball down the right field corner, going way back, hits a lead-off home run.
Questions often arise as to where Tom Wilson, owner of the Elite Giants baseball team, built his ballpark. Well, let me begin by giving you some information about Wilson, and then I'll let you know what research shows. And thanks to the staff of the Nashville Public Library Metro Archives, Sarah, Kelly, and Grace, along with Ken Feith, for their valuable assistance in locating public documents during my research. But Tom Wilson purchased a local semi-pro baseball club, the Standard Giants. He called them the White Sox, and with Marshall Garrett at the helm as field manager, entered his team in a newly formed Negro Southern League in 1920. By the way, a 19-year-old future star born in Nashville who began his professional career with the club was Norman Turkey Stearns, who was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame in 2000. 7 teams made up the balance of the Negro Southern League besides Nashville: the Atlanta Black Crackers, the Birmingham Black Barons, the Jacksonville Stars, the Knoxville Giants, the Montgomery Gray Sox, the New Orleans Caulfield Ads, and Pensacola Giants. And Nashville finished the season 40-40. I'd like to add that the Negro Southern League was formed 1 month after the Negro National League was formed in Kansas City. In 1921, Wilson changed the name of his club, giving them a name that would become synonymous with Negro Leagues baseball for years to come. He named them the Elite Giants. Yes, it's spelled E-L-I-T-E, but it's pronounced Elite. Nashville won the 1921 Negro Southern League pennant with a 72-46 record, much improved over the previous season. But going forward, with erratic schedules over the next few years, it is difficult to pinpoint how Wilson's team fared between 1926 and 1929. The Elites appeared to have remained a member of the Negro Southern League during that time, but also had an associate membership in the Negro National League. Now, along that time, Wilson built a ballpark to hold 8,000 fans, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little while. At the time, it was one of 2 African-American-owned professional ballparks, the other belonging to Gus Greenlee in Pittsburgh. And the 1930 federal census shows Tom Wilson's occupation as proprietor-ballpark. Wilson Park would not only host games, but community events with no regard to race. Years later, Wilson demolished his ballpark and in its place built the Paradise Ballroom, which allowed him a lawful source of income to finance his ball club. Wilson Park became the spring training ground for the Elite Giants after Wilson moved his club to Columbus in 1935, then to Washington, and then to Baltimore. And even when Sulphur Dell was too soggy for the Nashville Vols to practice and play, they often used the ballpark for preseason games. The Elite Giants often alternated home games between the 2 ballparks based on an out-of-town schedule of the Nashville Vols and the Southern Association. A local newspaper described a game to take place on the night of June 13, 1926, and emphasized that all fans, meaning both blacks and whites, would be welcome to view the marvel of night baseball. And Wilson's advertisements and broadside announcements usually included the phrase, "Special seats are reserved for white people." Wilson's mission had been to own a team exclusively in the Negro National League, formed by Rube Foster, and the Nashville owner bided his time in the Negro Southern League, until the opportunity came for a spot in the Negro National League in 1930. It was in that season when Nashville's Wilson Park was one of the earliest ballparks to employ the unique lighting system purchased by J.L. Wilkinson for his Kansas City Monarchs to play night games. And the Monarchs played a two-night game series in Nashville at Tom Wilson Park on May the 14th and 15th. Once again, that's 1930. But Nashville was unsuccessful in the Negro National League in 1930, finishing last with a 26-55 record with one tie. And the next season, the Elites rejoined the Negro Southern League as the National League collapsed in the midst of the Great Depression. And with most teams from the North, Wilson learned it was expensive for his ball club to travel from Nashville, and he moved his team to Cleveland in 1931 after obtaining Satchel Paige from the cash-strapped Birmingham Black Barons and renamed his team the Cubs, but returned to Nashville in mid-season when attendance did not support the move, and Paige left the ball club to pitch for Composie's Homestead Grays. The Elite Giants returned to the disorganized Negro Southern League in 1932, becoming a barnstorming team for the most part. And Nashville won the second half of the split season in 1932, earning a spot in the championship series against the Chicago American Giants. That team featured Stearns as its star player. The Negro National League was reorganized in 1933, influenced by the leadership of the league president, Pittsburgh Crawford's owner, Gus Greenlee, and the Elite Giants rejoined the league for 2 seasons. And Greenlee and Wilson organized the first East-West All-Star game that was played at Comiskey Park in Chicago before, get this, 19,568 fans. In 1934, Wilson was elected vice president of the Negro National League and organized a best-of-3 Negro League North versus South All-Star Series at Sulphur-Dale in the fall of 1934. Wilson would often travel with his team, but he maintained his suburban Nashville residence until he died. Even after moving to Baltimore, the team continued to hold spring training in Nashville, and Wilson formed a minor league team, the Cubs, to feed the Giants with players. Now, by now, I'm sure you're wondering where Tom Wilson built his ballpark. Well, let me go back to 1929. On April the 17th, 1929, a property deed transfer was recorded in Davidson County for the sale of 5 3/4 acres of land in Nashville from the estate of W.S. Whiteman, a Confederate veteran who owned real estate in the area and who had died in 1926. The property was purchased by Tom Wilson for $10,000. And that property bordered Browns Creek to the east, Factory Street to the north, the rail line of the Chattanooga, Nashville, and St. Louis Railway to the west, and south to a point ending at Culvert Street and Browns Creek. The car tracks of the Nashville Railway and Light Company ended at an alley near Factory Street, and many newspaper articles include the location as at the end of the Radnor Car Line, or 2nd Avenue South. Now, this is only a mile from the Tennessee State Fairgrounds. Today, if you drive north off of Nolensville Pike from the Tennessee State Fairgrounds, as soon as 4th Avenue splits and becomes 2nd Avenue going north, you're right at that area because that's the overpass where the train track came through. And if you look off to the right, that's the area of Tom Wilson Park and that general vicinity. Now, Wilson turned to the entertainment business by demolishing his ballpark in 1940 to build the Paradise Ballroom and forming a new enterprise to encompass all of his ventures. On April the 29th, 1941, Wilson and his wife chartered a new corporation, Elite Giants Baseball Club, Incorporated with the state of Tennessee, to run his new facility. The venue included a dance floor and often hosted basketball games and boxing matches and appearances by jazz greats including Lena Horne, Lionel Hampton, Jimmy Lunsford, Sarah Vaughan, and Cab Calloway. Political connections of all colors often frequented the nightclub, And Wilson invited whites to attend events on the balcony with seating for 1,000, the advertisement said. And in 1945, he resurrected the Black Vols as a member of the Negro Southern League. In December of 1945, the Paradise Ballroom hosted the Negro Southern Baseball League meetings. Now, on May 15, 1947, Wilson died at his home in Nashville, survived by his wife, Bertha, his daughter, Christine Wilson Childs, and his son, Tom T. Wilson, Jr. And this was only a month after Jackie Robinson became the first black player in a 20th century major league game. The Paradise Ballroom continued to operate until it was sold to a private racing club in the 1950s. There appears to be no record of Wilson's will when he passed. However, Thomas Jr. died 2 years later on August the 9th, 1949, and his will gives insight into the property acquired by his father, as it directed that his grandmother, Dr. Carrie L. Wilson, receive his house and lot on Sigler Street, where he lived, in Nashville, and a Cadillac and a Mercury sedan, and 2 pistols, formerly the property of his deceased father. And in addition, he bequeathed to his grandmother a diamond ring and a white gold mounting that was his father's, along with a watch and a Chevrolet pickup truck. Thomas Jr. left the house on the Paradise Amusement Hall property to his dear friend Hattie Coleman, while he left his 6 motorcycles to 2 friends. And another friend was to receive the younger Wilson's Chevrolet truck, while all 3 were to share in the possession of all remaining guns and ammunition. In 2003, with the assistance of Butch McCord, a Tennessee State historical marker was erected on the sidewalk near a Nashville public school, the Johnson School. And with confusion about the location several blocks away, the inscription reads, Tom Wilson Park, 1929 to 1946. And it goes on to say, formerly located near this site was Tom Wilson Park. It opened in 1929 and was home to the Nashville Elite Giants baseball team of the Southern Negro League. Owned by Thomas T. Wilson, the facility was one of 2 African-American-owned professional ballparks. Wilson Park also hosted spring training sessions for the Nashville Vols, a minor league team of the Southern Association. Spring training games brought such baseball greats as Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and Roy Campanella to the park. In 1946, Tom Wilson resigned and discontinued all ball activities at Wilson Park. Well, there's some discrepancies there, but it paints a pretty good picture of Tom Wilson and Wilson Park's career. Now, the entrepreneurial spirit of Tom Wilson includes a legacy of owning land in the city of Nashville, an estate in the Middle Tennessee countryside, a successful nightclub, successful leadership in the Negro Leagues, a baseball team in several cities, and really is the father of Negro Leagues baseball in Nashville. Now, I want to close by saying that due to the efforts of Dr. Harriet Kimbrough Hamilton, Tom Wilson will be inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame in the coming weeks. It is an honorable episode in the life and memory of one of the Negro League's favorite sons. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this episode of Nashville Baseball History. Along with Buzzsprout and any of the podcast formats that may be your favorite, you can now listen to my podcast on YouTube. Just look for Nashville Baseball History. Sometimes it comes under Skip's Corner. There's some older ones there too, but you're always welcome to take a listen. And if you have any feedback for me, be sure to send me a note at 262downright@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for listening.